Hellclock is as much an ARPG as it is a roguelike, so I've spent a lot of time putting together different builds. Once I reached Act 2, I found a build that carried me through the rest of the campaign, and even got me my first win in Ascension. By the way, if you want to know more about Hellclock, check out my review and then come back here. Also, if you're one of the devs watching this, please don't know if I swear it's not as OP as it looks. With that out of the way, what is the build? The core is a skill called Veil of Quills, where you will fire out a bunch of quill-like projectiles that seek nearby enemies. Enemy seeking is really good because this means you don't have to worry about aiming and you can just run through the level as things die around you. Plus, because they're enemy seeking, they have some really interesting interactions that are enabled by unique relics. On hit, the quills inflict debuff on enemies, which leads to an explosion, and because they're enemy seeking, if they pierce through the foe, that's right, they will return again to hit that foe another time, causing more debuffs, which leads to more explosions. So in essence, you have a playstyle that means you are walking through the level while projectiles fly all around you, automatically killing foes with many explosions all over the screen. There are also a variety of ways to scale the damage, be it increasing the explosion damage directly, or of course scaling things a little bit more indirectly by increasing your number of projectiles. Plus, with a skill Closed Body, you get a massive shield that protects you from harm to the point where you can stand in and face tank most of the bosses. And so now, let's get into some more details on what makes the build tick. Relics, skills, gear, and also how I solved mana recovery. So first up, the thing that really enables the build. Mark of a Vulture. This causes a Veil of Quills to inflict a stack of a buff or debuff called Mark of a Vulture. When we get to 7 stacks, they go boom. If you have a high roll, bigger boom. This is combined with Feathered Dagger, so Veil of Quills now pierces enemies. Don't worry about the reduced damage part. The point is, the more times it pierces, the more explosions it can cause with Mark of a Vulture. There really aren't any other required unique relics for this build. I happen to have Energy Box. It's really fun to use Passage and watch things explode, not required. Book of Sin, again, nice quality of life. Having Judgment proliferate through packs, not required. If you don't have either of these, don't worry about it. In addition to this, I used Death Notary for a long time because it is a 20% multiplicative damage bonus. Also, it restores mana, so before you have mana sustain, this is really good. But again, if you don't have them, don't worry about it. One thing that does make a significant difference, though, are these Exalted Relics, which I really need to level up more. Skill Projectile Amount. Because remember, you want Mark for Vulture to explode as much as possible. It explodes when the enemy reaches 7 stacks. So, the more projectiles you fire, the more stacks you can inflict on enemies. I would say that this is the best in slot relic when we're talking about non-uniques. But even if it's really good, you don't strictly need too many of them. I only have 2 and the build is totally functional. Beyond that, just look for good stats. Resistances, life, crit multi, crit chance, damage versus blighted enemies. Really, anything defensive. Plague damage is also good, cooldown speed is good, stun buildup is good. Lots of fun stuff. I've also been messing around a little bit with the Northerner belt. This casts Lasso on crit. Haven't decided if I actually like it yet, but you could use it in place of one of your rare relics, and you know what? Let me know down in the comments if you like it. So with relics out of the way, it's time to talk about skills. Obviously, your main skill is Veil of Quills, so you need this and you always want it at max level. But what about supporting skills? Well, I think Closed Body is really good. In fact, it might be slightly overpowered because it gives you a massive barrier that you can increase by scaling mana. That said, even if it does get nerfed, I think it's going to remain a solid defensive option. Then there's Prayer of Vengeance, which I'm primarily using for the crit chance, though it does apply a good amount of crit damage as well. So just coming over here, 44, 293, and if I were to take it off, 36, 267. Yeah, mostly for the crit chance. Pretty good overall. It also means that within a run, you are offered increased crit chance while affected by Prayer of Vengeance, which you can then use to scale up your crit pretty much to cap. And there's Passage. This is a movement skill. I'm using this because I have Hee Hee Funny Explosion Relic. If you don't have that, don't level it. The cooldown's actually much lower, so you can teleport more frequently if you leave it at level 1. And if you're not in Act 3 yet and you don't have that, just use Shadow Dash. It's basically the same thing. Also, if you're using it for movement, don't level that up either. And if you're not in Act 3 and you don't have Prayer of Vengeance, just go Slow Time. That's what I did. It worked pretty well. And last up, Judgment. This causes enemies to be judged, reducing their resistances, i.e. you deal more damage to them. And what's really important about this, it has an insane mana cost, like 1,110. So you may not want to level it, because spending 300 mana on a 4-second buff is actually slightly more mana efficient than spending 1,110 on a 10.75 second buff, since most things are going to die before the full duration of the buff goes by anyway. That said, once you end up getting to the point where you can just spam, do level it up, and I'm at that point. Next up, we have gear. Now, the single most important thing to get is a serrated iron revolver. Notice that plus 85% skill projectile amount. Remember what I said earlier. The more projectiles you have on Veil of Quills, the more things you can hit, causing more explosions. You want maximum EPS explosions per second. Therefore, you want skill projectile amount. Very, very important. I also find that having a ring with base damage, very nice. This is a significant DPS boost, especially since the base damage is lower on a serrated iron revolver than just a regular old revolver that just has damage. Oh no. I rolled this, and this would be a very big damage upgrade because it has 98% projectile amount, but I can't afford it. Oh no, I've griefed myself. Well, that's in the video forever now. In terms of other useful gear slots, I like cooldown on both belt and pants. And here you can either go with cooldown speed if you're really comfortable in your gear, or if you are not really comfortable with your mana regen, try to get minus mana cost. This is a multiplicative bonus. It's actually really impactful. And of course, movement speed on boots, because movement speed on boots, I don't know. Do I have to explain why going fast is good? Probably not. Now, for the Great Bell, at this point, I have it mostly filled out. But let's just pretend you don't have any of this because you're not in Act 3 yet, you're still progressing. First thing you want to do is get both the plus 120 and the red portal, so you'd probably already have this and already have this down to Reliquary Size Upgrade 1. Next, I find Second Wind to be very helpful. It means you can just kind of be an idiot once every 300 seconds anyway. Obviously, coming down here to get the size upgraded and maximum skill level. Then, in the left tree, this would be after you enter Act 2, maximum skill level into Reliquary, all the way down to maximum skill level. This is how you get most of the skill levels recommended for the build. In terms of extra points, I like Soulstone gain. That means more resources. Mana, of course, I think that's really good for mana recovery. Experience gain. That said, don't take this tree as super set in stone. I'm still experimenting a lot. Like, I recently had all of the gold gain nodes. That was pretty fun, and I'm kind of leaning towards doing that over some of the Soulstone gain, because I'm pretty happy with my total amount of Soulstones at this point. Oh, and if you need potions, definitely take Potion Amount, Potion Healing. The thing is, with the massive barrier I get from Conviction, I don't actually use my potions very often, and I don't actually consider my health relevant most of the time. Because you get 260% of this, and this number is bigger than this number. And 260% of this is way bigger than this number. That might change in the future if the Conviction Shield is nerfed. Now, last but not least, Constellations. First up, Faith Devotion. This is important for unlocking this guy, Tupa, who is super OP because he gives mana orbs. And mana orbs give you 1% increased mana regeneration. And this also means that you can get more regen by scaling more maximum mana. For me, this solved all of my mana issues, which is why I have such a CDR-heavy build now. In addition to this, I've started to fill out Lemania. This gives mana shield for each active power orb, and also this node here for +1 or 2 maximum power orbs at high mana, and these nodes here for some mana shield. Haven't fully played with this yet, but it looks intriguing. During the campaign, your options on Constellations are honestly pretty limited, so I would say Faith Path and fill out Tupa, call it good there. And so now, let's just head into a run, and I can kind of show you a build in action. As one note, when you are choosing upgrades on Judgment, you specifically want Plague and Fizz Shred, not Fire and Lightning. This doesn't actually do anything for you. So just gonna put up my shield and start blasting. Really, nothing should have the health to survive this. Sure, it's Act 3, but think of all the explosions. It's all the explosions. Ah, crit chance. There we go. I'm gonna scale that up a little bit. And of course, Fizz/Plague. Gonna select that. Really, the decision making on this build is pretty simple. If you can get damage, or, even better, extra projectiles for quills, absolutely take it. If you can't get extra damage or extra projectiles on quills, then try to shred enemy resistances. If you can't get either of those, go for crit. Between something like 30% crit chance, 10% plague res, go with your heart. I'm going to go crit chance here, which already my crit chance is up to 64%. Oh, there we go. Quill amount +2, which is, of course, scaled by everything. And as you can see, the build just got way more ridiculous. If you can get this level of ridiculousness, you're absolutely going to be winning. In terms of rotation, it's pretty simple. Use closed body on cooldown, try to keep 100% uptime on your conviction shield. Spam quills all day. Quills will pretty much kill everything. If you come across a tough enemy, cast Judgment, and if you have a mana, use Prayer of Vengeance. This increases your critical hit chance and critical damage buff. And of course, if you need to get around, use Passage. That's what it's there for. So now I'm going to jump ahead into run and show you what a boss looks like without any voiceover. Don't worry, it won't take too long. You won't even have enough time to miss me. And that's the build. But I wanted to use this end section of a video to answer a few questions. First up, what to do if you're not in Act 2 and you can't play Veil of Quills. Well, I don't know if it's the best or not, but what I did is play Spin to Win with Double Knives and Reflexes. Double Knives is the Spin to Win part, and Reflexes is a passive skill that fires spectral blades at nearby enemies. Being able to just put up the blades and run through stuff is still very fast and fluid. Plus, when you're playing Spin to Win, you barely even notice most of the enemies you're attacking. There are relics that allow you to scale double knives based on your movement speed and prevent the skill from slowing you down. Plus, you can convert reflexes over to lightning damage and kind of go into a really cool lightning elemental build that also inflicts bleed on enemies to deal even more damage with the lightning reflexes. Yes, this is what won me my first ascension. I found it very easy to get for relics, and also to get the souls to enhance them, a little harder to get for weapon. The build works pretty well even without a weapon, though at that point you're probably going to be struggling with the later bosses in Act 3. So I do recommend spending a significant number of your souls towards trying to get that once you're at that point. And last question, is this the most OP build in Hellclock? The answer is, I don't know. The game's still pretty new. A lot of people, myself included, are still experimenting and finding cool stuff. And so if you found something awesome, even if it isn't better than this build, if it's just something cool you want to share, let me know down in the comments below. Also, I'm definitely going to be playing Hellclock more in the future. I'm probably going to be making more builds, and there's a good chance I'm going to be making more videos on those builds. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, then do be sure to get subscribed. Also, again, if you haven't heard what Hellclock is, do check out my review. And if you're looking for something else to watch on a different game, check out Reality Break, another ARPG roguelike. That one leans more into the ARPG side of things. It was pretty fun and has some cool builds as well. Links to both of those will be up in the card and down below. For now, thank you very much for watching to the end. I'm glad you've enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.